I gave up on a lot of dreams for other people, and I am just absolutely sick of it. This is me raging and saying, I don't care. I'm going to be a villain, and I'm going to put out the books that I want to put out. Hopefully I can help other people through my writing. Like, that's what I want to do. Is
I am here with author Amanda Headlee, who just recently had her new book come out. This is How a Villain is Made, which I'm very excited to be talking to you about this, Amanda, because I've always wondered exactly how villains are made. As exciting as it is and fascinating to see ready-made villains and get inside of their lives, sometimes seeing the process itself can be the most terrifying thing. And I'm excited to see how you've dissected the villains. Is it safe to feel that maybe you feel the same way about your villains, that that's at least maybe part of your motivation for writing This Is How a Villain is Made?
Yeah, and like I like seeing how someone starts. Like, I love character arcs and seeing where people start out at and where they finish at the end of the story. Like, who do they become? And like specifically why I was focused on villains is because, a villain is only a villain in the eyes of a hero. So is a person really a villain or not? And so this story is watching someone grow into someone who they're not by the end of the story. And the question is she really villainous or not? Because look at what was done to her. Like, the circumstances that made her who she is, does this constitute her as a villain? Yes, I'm kind of saying she is a villain at the end, but then I'm like, but is she really? Let's look at her arc. Let's dissect this and see, are these villains that we always say out there, like Frankenstein, not the monster, but the man,
Sure.
who obviously is Frankenstein, was he actually a villain? Like, what is his real backstory? Because we really don't ever get into that. Like, how did he become that scientist? What drove him to do what he did? Did he really do anything wrong there? Which the sad things that happened to the monster and all that's horrific, and we see the villainy that has come from that. But it's like, I always wanted to see how people are born and what made them become who they are. So this is a story that watches this character as she goes through these circumstances that makes her become who she is in the end. And it's just kind of like, okay, if you say someone's a villain and her actions you see are villainous, this is why she is the way she is. Now, do you think she's still a villain?
That is amazing. And I love that complexity too in a character as well. It really makes you sort of push your own perspective, because I really suppose at the end of the day, it is all about perspective. I mean, nobody's gonna, the Joker's not going to tell you he's a villain. He's a hero of his people.
Yeah.
And then it's a whole question of, well, is that community itself villainous? Is they villainous because they're different? Is that just something that's always been a fascination for you, or were there any maybe particular villains that stood out to you and you thought, I want to get inside of that person, put them in a time machine and see what created them into this horrible person that maybe there were some sympathetic qualities that were there at one point that have just kind of been lost to their poisonous villainy at some point?
Yeah, and it's like I just always remember, like, different TV shows or books that I read, I was always drawn to the villain because I'm like, why are they the way that they are? Like, what made them be that way?
Right.
And yeah, they are doing horrific acts that are immoral and should be chastised, and they should be punished for it. But are people really born as villains? Like, it's the whole nature versus nurture thing. And I've always loved dissecting that one to see, are people who they are from the moment they're born, or is it just what they evolve into because of the circumstances that they have been brought up in?
Absolutely. No, really good point. I mean, I know one of my favorite villains early on was the Wicked Witch of the West, and of course, she used to be a really nice witch, apparently, like her sister Melinda, I think it was, until a house fell on her other sister and killed her, and then she just like, well, Emerald City, I'm waging war on you.
Yeah, and that's what, like, I'll have to say, and I loved her before she was all mainstream, was Harley Quinn. I've loved her since the moment I first saw her on the Batman animated series back in, was that 93, 94, 95, early 90s, you know?
Yeah.
And I have always been intrigued by her backstory because you would always see like little glimmers of her not being a bad person in situations that she's in. And I'm like, okay, what has made her this way? And now that she's become mainstream and she has all these backstories, and you get to see who she is, and it's like, no, she's not bad. She's just misguided. She has good intentions, but it goes about them in bad ways. I mean, yes, she murders people and all this stuff, and people are just, innocent bystanders in her progress towards her goals of just being happy. But it's like I've always just been so fascinated by who she is because she was groomed by the Joker,
Yeah.
very clearly groomed by him. She had some mental struggles before that, but she was a brilliant psychologist. And it's
Right.
just like I've always just been fascinated with like why she turned and how she kind of turned to this level of villainy. But then if you watch like the new HBO series with Harley and Ivy, like you just see her completely a different character now. So I've always loved her arc and all the different universes that she has. She's had horrific stuff done to her. Like if you look at some of her original storylines, like the Joker did horrific things to her. And then you see what kind of character she is today.
Yeah. The Joker is a very, very bad man.
That's a villain.
Uh,
I don't want to
that's a
know his
villain.
backstory. That's a villain.
No kidding. Very big backstory that I'd
Yeah.
rather not dive into. To give people watching this as well, a bit of a taste of what the story is about, I'm going to make a reference to the synopsis. And of course, you're going to give them a very direct taste a little bit later on as you're going to read a portion of the book. But the synopsis for the book, it mentions how your primary character, Beatrice Beaumont, that she's forced to, down a very dark path where she has to decide, kind of what she's willing to endure and what she's willing to become. And I'd love to get, more of your personal intrigue with exploring Decent People, being challenged to tap into, the most uncharacteristically, if I can speak, dark and brutal parts of their being compared to those who, much like the Joker, who might just come into it more than willing, perhaps even relishing any excuse to unleash a little bit of the pent-up hell that they've maybe always had.
Yeah. So with B, it's either survive or die, and that's what her main drivers are. Like she's after the death of her mother, her father makes a complete 180. Well, I wouldn't say a complete 180 because there's always signs there that he is not a good man. And after her mother dies, she loses that layer of protection that she always has. And her father becomes very controlling of her. She's no longer a daughter, she's a servant of the house. And so she's escaping out west to get away from that control, to be her own person, to be her own woman, to seek safety. And as she's going out west, she runs into one bad thing after another, and she has to figure out what she has to do to survive. And going to meet, like, she goes to certain levels, or goes to certain means that she never expected herself to go to in order to survive. And so, like, everything that keeps happening to her just keeps piling up and piling up and piling up. And every time she thinks she finds sanctuary, it's like ripped out from underneath her. And so, that just builds and builds and builds. And that's how she becomes who she is in the end.
That is absolutely fascinating. And I know, certainly considering the topic of nurture versus nature, and I mean, certainly nurture doesn't necessarily mean you're well cared for. It certainly means you're being maybe more influenced. And I know that's certainly a, this versus that component that's really been explored, within elite and layman circles, since really mankind could probably start drawing comparisons on cave walls. Did you find, was your book built more from, pure imagination and maybe your own life experiences, the scope of the world around you, or did you also happen down, maybe any rabbit holes of research to get down to the psychology of bee specific evolution and to get it just right?
I would say it's a little bit of a mix. Like, there's a bit of survival of the fittest in there. Like she's going to do whatever she needs to do to survive. But it's also I'm looking at what's going on from a political and social aspect in the US where voices are being silenced, and like that's something that weighs very heavy in this book, is how often she is pushed down and silenced, and what that does to a person's psyche when you're told you're small and you're worthless and you can't do anything right. And so like when you get told that over and over again, and this is the box you fit in and you can never leave this box, um it builds over time. And so like that is kind of the route I was going on. So I didn't do too much research. The research I did was more historical because it's set in the Old West, in 1872. But from a psychological standpoint, I think it was just my own internal rage that I poured into this.
Well, there's certainly plenty of fuel for that these days for a lot of our internal rage. So that's fantastic. You've got a healthy outlet for it in this book, and hopefully folks can kind of latch onto your internal rage and kind of blend it in with a little bit of their own as they're going through this journey with you. And Beatrice, you've declared on your site when I was going through your website earlier that the book also represents a really major declaration for your personal evolution as a crafter of dark words. And I thought that was really fascinating, feeling that you were in a certain box and then decided you want out of that box.
Mm-hmm.
Could you maybe please expand a little bit on what your personal attachment that you have to the story, and Candace's Candace, the publisher from Comfortably Dark, and of course her good taste for adding that to her much revered catalog of titles?
Yeah. This is such like it's like my unbridled female rage. I'm in my villain era. That's what I keep saying. I'm in my villain era. Because I'm middle aged now, and it's like I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, every year that passes now, I just care less and less about what people think of me, and I'm just going to put myself out there. You either like me or you hate me. I don't care anymore. That caring so much about what people think about me has held me back from so much in life. Like there's so much I did not accomplish because I was too worried about how people would view me. Because I've always been told, oh, you're making the wrong decisions, you're going in the wrong path, and blah, 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 blah. And I listened too much, and I made myself small so that I could just like fit in and just coast by and not cause waves. And I missed out on a lot of life. I gave up on a lot of dreams for other people, and I am just absolutely sick of it. So this is me raging and saying, I don't care. I'm going to be a villain, and I'm going to put out the books that I want to put out. And hopefully I can help other people through my writing. Like that's what I want to do, is I want to help people through my writing. I don't care if it's in horror. People say, "Ooh, why do you write horror? I mean, you're such a nice girl. Why do you write horror?" I mean, everything is horror.
Absolutely. If you looked around the world
Everything
lately,
is horror.
That's
Do you
right.
see the society we live in today? It is all horror. You can't not write about it. You can't turn a blind eye to it. So, so I'm in my villain era. I don't care. I'm going to put what I want to put out there in the world. And it's kind of, and like, I'm a big proponent of kindness, and that's why I love working with Candace with Uncomfortably Dark, because she has the biggest heart that I have ever met in a person on this planet. She uplifts everybody. She wants to support everybody. She wants to see everyone succeed. I'm so happy to be a part of her team so that, I can help champion that with her, because like, I just want to see equality and love, and I want to see everybody reach their goals and their dream. This is me moving into my villain era and saying, I'm going to fight back on anyone who wants to quash that. We're not quashing 100%. People's dreams anymore.
No, it's time to let the villains out of the box and not put up with the crap. Which it almost seems like an oxymoron, doesn't it? Where you're in your villain era and following the love and the light.
Yeah, and again, that's why, like, that's the whole crux of the book. It's like, is she a bad person? And it's like, are all villains really bad, or are they just misunderstood?
Now that transition from you, though, when you were, maybe writing some more lighthearted things, the things that you thought were expected of you, the things that you thought you were supposed to do, maybe for other people, for added
Hmm.
expectations, and decided to say, to hell with this, smash down the walls and fight for yourself, get those villains out of your system, write about the uncomfortable things that you're passionate about. Was that an easy transition for you? Did you wake up one day and say to hell with all of it? Or was it sort of a slow transition that you grabbed onto certain things that maybe helped supported you in that decision?
Yeah, it's been a slow transition. Like I think with my first novel, Till We Become Monsters, that was like really dipping my toe in the water to see how far I could push stuff. Now, there is a limit that I can go to. Like I healthily respect people who can write extreme horror because I can't. I've tried, like I do write very gory scenes, but they're usually very anatomical scenes. Um because it's my scientific mind, but I always
Sure.
appreciate people who can write extreme horror because that's just not something that I can personally do. But like when I wrote Till We Become Monsters, that was like I've been told that book is very gothic the first half, and the last half is very, it's a gore fest. But it and that was me pushing my limits on writing something that was that detailed. Now, of course, compared to extreme horror, it's very mild, but a
Sure.
lot of people have said, "Ew, I never expect you to write stories like that." And I'm like, that's the reaction I want.
That's perfect. I want to make you a couple, want to make you
Yeah.
squirm. And I mean, I know, one of our colleagues, Eric LaRocca, I think he put it really well too. And you seem to be very in tune with that, where the worst response a horror author can get from a reader is somebody reading their book and finish it and saying, eh,
Yeah. It's like,
that's
no, I
that'd be
want you to
awful.
be disgusted by my book.
Right. It's
Yeah,
supposed to be disturbing because it's not supposed to be nice. And that's the point. It's
exactly. It's supposed
life,
to
as
make
you
you
said, it's all
uncomfortable.
around. Yeah.
Exactly.
Um, and I know based on this milestone for you too, Amanda, like what advice, if any, like what advice would you give for budding authors who are also maybe still trying to find their true voice while they're still also trying, their hardest to produce work that's, well received as some of their
Hmm.
peers or their literary heroes, but also want to be true to their voice. It really is a bit of a balancing act. Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, I think the first thing is, believe in yourself. Your intuition is right. So believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. So, you're your number one. You always take care of yourself first. You always put the oxygen mask on a plane, you know,
Yeah,
on you
that's
first when
right.
you're on a plane. So you take care of yourself first. You're number one. Believe in yourself. Your intuition will not steer you wrong. And it takes time. Like,
Mhm.
the first thing you ever write is not going to be you 10 years from now. You're going to grow and evolve. Like I look at like my first story that came out in 2014 to This Is How a Villain Is Made, and my writing style is completely different. My approach is different. Like you just keep evolving, and that's the thing I love about like the writing process and getting older
Yeah,
is you're always going to be evolving. You're always going to be trying something new. So don't be afraid to change. And to change because that's where you're evolving to, not because you're told to do so. Change
right.
because that's your own personal evolution.
That's very good words. There's golden nuggets in that, and I hope that everybody just leaned forward while you were saying that because that's so true. And I know certainly for me personally, and maybe a lot of people watching this too would think, but that just feels really selfish. But I think it's okay to be a bit selfish too, because I think
Yeah.
that if you focus inward enough to develop your voice and you as much as possible to be the better true you, then it just puts you in a better position, I think, to be a better support system for other people that are maybe looking for their people, not realizing if you're one of their people because you're not quite true yet to
Yeah, yeah,
yourself.
because
So
you're writing for yourself first. Like
yeah,
you're putting yourself onto pages, and so you need to just like let yourself go and just be like you said, just be true to yourself, and just be in the now for you, because what anybody else thinks doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
yeah,
Yes, they'll help you sell books and they'll help get you nominated for awards. That's the ultimate goal. But to
right.
get started, you need to think about yourself. Be selfish. Don't be mean, be kind,
Yes,
but be selfish.
absolutely. You got to take care of yourself first. Then you can take care of everything else.
Yeah.
Before we set the stage on fire here, so to speak, and have you read a sample from your book, I really need to talk about your cover. You mentioned before that it is, of course, back from the 1800s. Do you happen to have a copy of it with you by any chance?
I do. Apologies. It does say it is a proof, but
Oh,
this is
that's
the cover.
oh,
It
that's
makes me so
beautiful.
happy. Don
Yes,
Noble knocked it out of the park.
Don is fantastic. I
Mm-hmm.
snagged one of his pre-mades for a novel that I'm working on. Like, that's perfect. I didn't know what I was looking for. Thank you. Do this to embellish it. Yeah, he's a fantastic author.
Yeah.
And what I liked in there too is that obviously is very representative. He didn't just write cool art. He wrote art that's representative of the story. And I can't help but think that, well, first of all, at first glance, I thought, it has sort of a folkish nostalgia, certainly from days long past. And I'm also certain, I'm positive, especially after hearing you talk about Beatrice a bit more, that there's obviously no accident that the woman depicted on that field, in the field there, she's got no discernible mouth.
Yeah. That's
So
on
I gotta
purpose.
ask you, yeah, can you maybe tell us then about maybe more entirely about what that cover represents to you in the story and the process of how it came to be between you and Don Noble?
Yeah, yeah. It's like I wanted, like the whole book is about feeling unsettled. As a reader, every page you read, I want you to feel unsettled. Because on one hand, and I'll get to the cover here in a second, because
Sure.
the reason why I want that is because as a woman, as women, we are constantly unsettled. We go out in public. We're always looking around to see who's coming near me, who's in my vicinity, who do I need to be aware of. Don't go around this corner because you don't know if someone's going to be there to jump you. Unlock your I have a way of getting into my car. I have step by step way when I'm by myself of getting into my car safely so that
Wow.
I'm safe. And so, the moment I step foot outside of my door, I am unsettled. And so I wanted that to resonate through every page in this book. And that started with the cover. Like, you look at it and you think, oh, that's a pretty scene and all that. And then when you really look at it, you're like, she has no mouth. Why does she have no mouth? And it's just like, I just wanted that little bit that just makes people feel uneasy with what's going on.
Right. Yeah. It's almost a kind of a neat throwback to Harlan Ellison too. I have no
Yeah.
mouth, but I can scream.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or maybe she probably needs to scream it all out, but she has no mouth, so she cannot scream.
Yep. Yep. She would not be allowed to scream if she could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did that go back and forth quite a bit, or did Don
Nope.
read the story first, or?
I don't know if he read it. I don't think he did. Like I got I don't think he read it before he did this. I could be wrong. So Don, sorry. I know I got a tip sheet for him where I said, I gave some recommendations of like the vibe that I wanted. And I know I said I like the vibe of John Langan's A Fisherman and Todd Kiesling's Cold Black and Infinite, that vintage
Nice. Yeah.
warm, like it looks like a painting kind of vibe, like a
Right.
romanticism vibe. So I'm like, I wanted that. But I'm like, it has to have a blue sky, a prairie, and a girl in a yellow dress. I would love a train on the back. Oh, by the way, the girl can't have a mouth. And I think I sent him a picture of a dress. And that's what he did. He knocked it. Like, first, I had no changes
Yeah.
to this whatsoever.
Wow, that's incredible. That's pretty cool when you could do that. I just feel that in tune with the cover artist, and because that's so important. I mean, let's face it, we all judge books by their covers.
Yeah.
So having a great cover artist is so important, but having a great cover artist that is in tune with what your vision is, it's like that's chef's kiss.
Yeah. I don't think I gave him a lot of direction. I just, I said I hit the high points or the salient points that I wanted in to appear, and he just like, I think we played with the color of the blue sky a little bit, but I ended up going back with his original.
It's beautiful, beautiful stuff. And before we get into maybe kind of some final thoughts where folks can get the book, which by the way, everybody that's watching this too, I'm going to put a link down below too, so you guys can click on that so that you don't have to go on a big wild goose chase for it. We'll hook you up. I got your back. Before we do that though, just to give us a a little bit of a teaser, as if the cover doesn't lure us into the book enough, you're going to make sure that we have no choice but to buy the book and to
Yes.
read it for
Yes.
ourselves.
Yes, I'm excited to give this little teaser. So, this is chapter 1, and it is called The Morning After. The panic shock of sensing she isn't alone jolts Bee from her sleep. Her heart flutters as she sits upright in the bed, clutching the quilt to her chest, and looks around the sparsely furnished room. After a third cursory look around, a smile washes over Bee's frightened face in relief that she is indeed alone and safe. The adrenaline from her reaction gradually subsides in her veins, easing the trauma of days gone by. The door to the bedroom stands closed, just as she had left it the night before. Bee pushes the patchwork quilt off her body. Sunlight filters through the hand-woven curtains adorning the bedroom windows, casting delicate patterns onto the floor. The warmth from the sun radiates into her feet as she walks over to the wooden chair in the corner of the room by the windows. A hastily discarded pair of pants rests on the seat back. Slipping in one leg at a time, she pulls the pants up over her waist and tucks the length of the off-white cotton button-up shirt she had slept in into the waistband. Both pieces of clothing are a tad too big for her, but she resolves the situation by finding a belt in the dresser on the opposite side of the room. It will be nice to wear a belt. Over the past several months, maybe years, she has spent a lot of time without a belt, hiking up her slacks as they slip and drift off her hips. The bedroom, despite its barren decor, is cozy. It is a simple space and not overwhelming. A trundle bed with a sagging mattress is draped with an old patchwork quilt that holds an undocumented history. A lone chair holds the clothes Bee had worn the day before. A dresser stands against the wall near the open door opposite the two windows that overlook the vast prairie. 3 of the 4 dresser drawers house clothing for a man. The top drawer is where she found the belt and other trinkets. When she first opened the drawer and she saw a variety of items, jewelry, hairpins, change purses, and other feminine mementos, Bee averted her gaze, and in doing so, noticed the belt coiled in the right side of the drawer. She hastily grabbed the leather strap and slammed the drawer shut, leaving the other contents to address later. Once dressed, Bee opens the bedroom door and savors stepping over the threshold to the landing at the top of the stairs. She avoids looking down the section of the loft blocked off by a white linen sheet and enjoys the sensation of her eyes crinkling as a smile stretches across her face with each step down the stairs. With a quick comb of her fingers through her wildly curly brown hair to make herself more presentable, Bee reaches the first floor. She steps forward to the front door and opens it. A warm breeze wraps around her as she steps out onto the porch. Gazing across the prairie, a beautiful day unfolds panoramically before her, surrounded by an expansive sea of grass and the remnants of a fading mining town just beyond the grassy swells. The Rockies reach towards the heavens, shrouded in a haze as they frame Yellow Creek City. The smell of earth and grass fill her nostrils as she inhales and exhales a breath of fresh, free air. She shakes herself and exhales breath with a whoosh. It's time to start this new day. As Bee re-enters the house, she moves towards the small room on her right named the library, because of the packed bookshelves lining the wall, and she sees Emily sitting in the rocking chair in the far corner. The rocking chair dips forward and back ever so slightly as the breeze flows in through the open window beside the chair. Bee wants to believe it is Emily who moves the chair, but she knows her friend no longer has the strength to do so on her own. Bee's smile fades as she kneels by Emily's side, her back turned to the hallway that runs alongside the stairs leading to the office, an addition at the back of the house. "Shall we have our tea outside this morning?" Bee asks, smoothing the apron covering Emily's torso and thighs, hoping her friend wasn't cold in this chair overnight. The only other blanket in the house is in the closet at the back of the office, but Bee isn't ready to go in there to retrieve it. Bee selfishly kept the only available blanket for herself upstairs on the bed. Emily didn't argue. Besides, it turned out to be a warm night. Bea adjusts the knots in the old dish towel she had brought in from the kitchen last night and strung it up between the front two legs of Emily's rocking chair. After confirming that knots hold firm, Bea gently lifts Emily's right foot and maneuvers it into the dish towel hammock. She carefully does the same with Emily's left foot. Bea then caresses her smooth skin of Emily's cold feet. Both appendages regain some flexibility, but they still exhibit a peculiar still softness. Once satisfied with both of her friend's feet securely tucked away, Bea stands. Emily hasn't made a single movement or spoken a word since Bea entered the room. In fact, Emily hasn't uttered a single word since... Bea shakes her head, unable to dislodge the lump in her throat as she focuses on her friend before her, pushing away sour memories of others. Emily's all she has now, and Bea is determined to take care of her friend forever. She runs a hand through Emily's tangled black hair, making a mental note to find a brush later. Bea softly caresses Emily's cheek with a finger. There isn't even a flutter to her friend's cloudy eyes as they stare blankly ahead, never once searching for Bea. The lump grows larger in her throat. It won't be long until she loses her friend. Emily's body is failing long before it was supposed to. Let me see to that tea, but first... Bea grabs the arms of the chair beneath Emily's clawed hands and pulls the rocking chair forward. Once there's enough space between the back of the chair and the corner behind it, Bea slips in and wraps her hands around the top of the chair, her knuckles resting on either side of Emily's head. She gently tilts the chair back on its rungs and slides it towards the front door. The rungs hit hard against the threshold, and both Bea and Emily tip forward from the force of the stop. If Bea didn't have her knuckles against Emily's skull, she might have tipped her dear friend out of the chair, shattering her fragile body onto the wooden floorboards. Sorry, Bea gasps as she tips the chair backwards, cradling Emily's body between the chair and the back seat. She heaves again. This time the rungs of the chair easily clear the threshold. Once outside on the porch, Bea places her friend just to the left of the door. Next to Emily stands a small side table, large enough for 2 cups of tea, and just beyond that, before the edge of the porch, is another rocking chair, smaller and wobblier than the one Emily sits in. The other chair has likely witnessed quite a bit during its time sitting outside year-round in the Colorado weather. Emily's chair is much more ornate, with a glossy finish on the amber-colored wood. Its design made Bea wonder if it was imported from the East Coast. It reminded her of the chair that her mother used to sit in as she protectively watched Bea play in the front yard from the comfort of the front porch of Bea's childhood home. The chair's arms, rungs, and legs were shaved smooth, with a luster that sealed the wood beneath its shine. The seat had a slight divot in the center, and the back features 5 thin spindles that support the headrest. Bea hopes Emily is comfortable in the chair. If only Emily would say so. Just a single word to reassure Bea that everything is okay, and will always be okay. I'll be back, Bea says, and pats Emily on the top of the hand. Her skin is drying out, and Bea needs to think of a way of how to address that, as she wants to make Emily as happy as possible. Walking into the house, Bea can't dislodge the lump welling in her throat. It feels like a bird rattling in a cage, yearning to escape. Bea refuses to cry. She won't let the tears flow. There's been enough sorrow already. Now she and Emily are free, and there's no reason for sadness.
Well, that was fantastic. You know, it was almost like there was like this spider slowly crawling towards the floor, and it looks like it's friendly, but it's closer it gets. I feel like there's a bit of danger that's coming with it, and that whole scene that you just read off just sort of gave me that kind of a visual, this just creeping danger.
I like that creeping danger. That's the feel that I want to evoke, and I hope, and like some early reviewers have said that they felt that throughout the whole book. So I'm like, yes, that's what I want.
Nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it.
That is, yeah, no, that's fantastic, and that's through the whole book. Nobody's gonna put this thing down and go, nah. No, that is awesome. Yeah, no, thank you so much, man. That was great. Now that we have a better idea of at least how a villain is made before people click on that link and find out how your villain is made, at least in this case, the villain of Beatrice, perhaps the sympathetic villain, Are there any final thoughts you have about this book and what you're hoping other folks get from this, other than just simply that feeling of, that creeping danger and not sure what's around the other corner? What are you hoping this does to readers, and in turn, what it's going to do for you moving forward in your writing career as you evolve?
Yeah, I think the other thing that like I hope people get from this book is we don't always understand or know the circumstances that make people who they are. So, before you jump on people and dogpile them, let's understand why people are acting the way they are. Now, that being said, there are people that deserve to, be canceled for being very horrible and mean people that want to tear
Right.
others down. But if you know that that person's a genuine person and they do something questionable, find out what's going on first before you tear them down. We don't know what people are going through. We don't know who they are and how they've become to be who they are. So let's give people grace if they deserve it, because there are some people that
Right.
do not deserve it.
There you go. Yes.
Clearly. So yeah, it's like, let's just take a moment to understand. And yeah, I also want people to understand how a lot of folks don't feel safe in this world. And let's try to be kinder to one another. It's a scary world, especially right now. Let's be kinder to one another and hold each other up, because we want to see everyone be successful, happy, and safe. So let's just be kind. Kindness matters.
Absolutely. And I could not have said it any better myself. I think that's a brilliant message out there that is honestly that needs to be flown behind many airplanes over many areas so that we can all get that. No, very well said. I definitely think that intent and motivation is, and getting as much perspective as you can on both of those levels for what other people maybe have done. I mean, we're all human. We all make mistakes sometimes. We all act inappropriately. And I think it's the people that think, oops, I'm going to learn from that. I'm not going to do that again.
Exactly. Yeah.
But to be outright canceled and
right. It's accountability.
Yeah.
It's like everyone
Right.
makes mistakes. Give someone a chance to apologize, learn from that mistakes. Don't do it again. Give them a second chance. Now, if it's like something that they keep doing over and over again and they have a track record, different story. But
Absolutely. People want to be in your next book in that case.
Yeah. But it's like someone has a bad day. Someone might misphrase something. Someone might be misunderstood. Let's give people grace before we attack them.
Thank you very much, Amanda. 1000% agree with that. Well, thank you so much again for being here. Couldn't thank you more. Everybody, to give that like the link a click down below for the book. If you guys also hit the like button too, that'll help this episode with Amanda go in front of a lot more people that love her kind of stories that we really need more than ever before. So please do that. I mean, by all means, hit subscribe if you genuinely want to see more of these sort of episodes on this channel. But more importantly, click the link, buy the book. Shout out to Amanda. Thank you very much. Really appreciate this today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me today. It was a great chat. I appreciate it.